It's Marlon Qualls Jr. Merry Christmas Eve. I know this holiday season is a tough one for us all who's dealing with grief, loneliness, despair, and isolation. Today I have
My name is Charles Winton. I'm a licensed professional counselor with Wellsprings Counseling Incorporated. I'm located at 6263 Poplar Avenue, and that's Memphis, Tennessee. And I'm also trained in trauma, so I'm an EMDR specialist as well. Good to be here with you, Marlon.
thank you for coming. Thank you for coming to help us all heal for the holidays. 'Cause
Yes,
we need it. Because as you know, a lot of people say that the holidays, full of fun, laughter, family, but it's also full of grief, depression, sadness, and isolation, and broken families as
absolutely,
well.
absolutely.
What is it about the holiday blues that brings depression during the holidays?
Well, just like you said, this is a time that we see a lot of people are festive and a lot of people are celebrating the holidays. But then we do have a segment of our community who have lost loved ones, who this is the first year without their loved one. And so we're trying to wrap our brain around celebrating holidays without that person who's been with us all our lives.
Yeah.
So anytime you're trying to make an adjustment is hard. So that with that, not knowing how to navigate, people tend to isolate because when we find a difficult situation, what we try to do, Marlon, avoid it.
Yeah.
So one of the things we avoid is we try to isolate, and in that isolation brings depression and brings sadness and bring what we call the holiday blues.
What's the difference between seasonal depression and long term depression?
Well, just like the word says, seasonal depression, it usually occurs between like the fall time and winter when we see a lot of gloom. The sun is not out as much. It's cold. A lot of people not really doing a lot as you would in the spring and the summer. So things start slowing down. The sun is not out. So it's just gloom. Like I think last week we had about 3 or 4 days of rain nonstop, and the sun went out. Those are what we call what brings on seasonal depression, and it ends, and you'll see it end around the springtime. So that's the difference between long term and seasonal depression. This is just for that season.
Wow. What tools can you give for people or to people who's dealing with the holidays without a loved one? I mean, celebrating the holidays
Hmm.
first year without loved ones.
Well, I always say that it's good to make a plan. So I always have my clients to make a plan. If this is the first day without your loved one, the first holiday without your loved one, how do you want this day to work out? So it's really sticking to a natural schedule.
Hmm.
So I have my clients to make a schedule. What is it that you want to do at 9? What do you want to be doing by 12? What do you want to be doing by 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock? Mapping out your day because sometimes when you don't, what's the saying? When you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Yeah.
So if you want to get in that depressive state that day and then just take it as it comes, it'll overwhelm you. So what we do is I try to practice is tell my clients to make a plan, write it out how you want that day. At 9 o'clock, I want to spend 2 hours with Marlon. Then we're gonna leave and go to escape room, and then we're gonna leave and go to dinner. And then next thing you know, it's 10 o'clock and it's time for bed. And you wake up the next morning and like, whoa, that didn't go as bad as I thought it went. So you got to
Staying
make a plan.
busy and not sitting around letting
Exactly.
that depression and those feels and emotions come out.
Absolutely.
Wow. Why is it that families depart once a loved one passes?
I think,
Especially grandma. Like
right.
I've experienced with grandma. When we know we lost other people in the
Hmm.
family, the family was still together. But once my grandma passed, everybody went their own separate ways. And I haven't seen majority of them since the funeral. Haven't talked to some of them. Going on 5 years. I'm like, why did it take for grandma to pass for the family to become broken? Like for everybody to show their true colors.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things, like I mentioned in the first question you asked, people don't know how to deal with grief. Unfortunately, our community specifically don't know how to deal with grief.
We don't talk about it.
We don't talk about it, as you said. So the separation you can see, not always that there was a problem. It's just we don't know how to communicate about it. What we're gonna say the next day, when it's all over. How do I approach it? How do I handle your tears? How do I handle your anger? And so rather than handle it, then we just scatter. because in some kind of way it keeps us from dealing with our own emotion and then having to carry the next person's emotion, so we scatter.
Gotcha. Is it likely that people commit suicide during this time of the year?
Highly likely. One of the things that happens is during that isolation, people begin to feel that no one cares. People feel that I'm all alone. And in that moment, when you're grieving, like I just mentioned, we don't know how to grieve. So I can have an entire family downstairs waiting on me and waiting to communicate and waiting to talk. But when I'm upstairs or I'm in a room by myself, those thoughts are telling me I'm by myself. I'm all alone. But in the next room, you have an entire family that's wants to be with you. But in those thoughts, when you got the holiday blues, you're dealing with grief and loss, you're isolating, then you're getting your thoughts, and your thoughts lie to you, and it tells you
Yeah.
you're all alone.
No. What tips or tools can you give to people who buried a loved one during the month of the holiday?
Some tips is the theme that we've been saying is we tend to isolate,
Hmm.
but what that should do is bring us closer to people. We need a community. We need a support. You cannot do this on your own. I know everybody think that they can, but we are humans.
Hmm.
You know what human does? We connect. We are human. God made us
Lift each
human.
other up when we fall.
Yeah, and that's it. Because see, we're humans. We're not robots. Robots, we just mechanical.
Hmm.
But humans, we have what? Feelings. We have emotions. So when God created us, He created us as human beings. So therefore, we need people. We need humans to talk to. So the moment that you walk away from your natural existence and start saying that I can do this by myself, no man is an island. I can do this by myself. I can deal with it by myself. I can handle it by myself. Then you're setting yourself up for failure. So the number one thing that you can do is don't isolate. No, go to the crowd and say, I need you. I need your touch. I need your hug. I need your listening ear. I need your words, because that is how we live as human beings.
Wow.
And one of the things that people are learning now, we can't expect people to be us. And that's what we do, and that what breaks our heart is that word expectation. Because we give, we do, we go over and beyond. We just automatically expect people to be Marlon,
Hmm.
everybody to be
Yeah.
Charles, but they're not.
They
And
don't got everybody
so
don't got that hard.
everybody don't have it like that. And but it doesn't mean that they don't care. It's just we holding and expecting them to be us. When that's not fair to them, they have to be them, and we have to meet them at their level.
Hmm. Yeah, but some people they tend to take advantage of people during grief because they know they really not in that
Hmm.
right mind space,
Right.
and they know when a person grieving, they'll give whatever, do whatever for a person. But like you said, we expect people to be, we expect people to show up for us how we show up for them.
Exactly, and that's what gets us in trouble, because we cross our boundaries, because we have so much high expectation that they're gonna love us the way we love them. They're gonna treat us the way we treat them. They're gonna give to us the way we give to them.
Hmm.
When that's just not natural, because they're not the same as us. And so when we expect them to do it, that means we lift them up to a higher level than what they are.
Yeah.
And then when they don't meet that, then who they are and where we lifted them, there's some time and space where, so then they drop us. And then that's the hurt we feel. Not necessarily that they did it, but we expected them to be something in our lives that they couldn't be.
Yeah. What advice can you give to those who are grieving and lonely? Like people that have people but still feel lonely.
I would say sometimes we have to, again, we have to teach people how to treat us. In other words, we don't take for granted that the next person know how, because you got a long history of our parents may not have had the love and the nurturing, so they don't know how to be that for us. They didn't have it. So there are a lot of things that you have to look at before you say no one cares or you say I'm all alone. So what we try to do is during this season is build a support system and go and talk to them. Will it happen the first time? Maybe not. But the more you open up, you'll find that that person will come to you, unbeknownst to you, and just, hey, I want to ask you a question, and just be like, whoa, this is what it was for, so they can open up. And so you have to get them, your family and your friends, support people, an opportunity and time to be that person for you, and you sometimes have to lead the way.
Yeah, because most times I had, as I went through my grief journeys, like I'm still, grieving.
Hmm.
But what I've learned is you never know what the next person dealing with. So that's why, people probably don't show up because they dealing with their own problems and don't know how to deal with
There you go. There,
it.
see, all of that you have to take in consideration before you isolate and say no one cares. And that's why you have to be a family, a relationship. If it's a partnership, if it's a marriage, you always have to keep talking and keep the lines of communication open. Because if you understand each other, then there's nothing you can't get through. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And if you can't build, a bond or relationship with your own family, create an outside family. That's what I've done.
Absolutely.
And my outside family, I love them so much. They call and check on me. Like, we check on each other, but it's mutual. And it's like, I don't have to, try to control my family on getting together when I know it's not going to happen. So just create, God, He'll place people in your life who meant to be.
Absolutely.
He has
So
done
if your family is not, it doesn't always have to be your blood family, but there, like you mentioned, there can be friends and coworkers of yours who will love you, who will talk to you, who will care. Just reach out and state what you need and paint the picture.
Yeah, and we do got to learn to be vulnerable. It's okay to be vulnerable. And I've learned that a lot. Like when somebody asks me a question about my mental health journey, I'm very open about it because I'm like, my story will help them.
Right, absolutely. And we don't like to be vulnerable because that shows signs of weakness, and we don't want to be weak.
Yeah.
So we hold it in again, and then we have the broken heart because we hold it in, and we never given anybody a chance to come in and sit with us, and we never given ourselves permission to be vulnerable, to invite them in. So there are a lot of factors to when we say we're all alone. So we just want to challenge that thought and just make yourself open and free to go and ask for help.
Yeah, because there's so much strength and vulnerability, and I've learned that. Learned it. Like,
Because actually it's not weakness, it's a sign of strength. So you can see it now. Look at you, you're strong, but you have to show vulnerability in order to get to the next level, which is your strength. So just inviting people to be vulnerable in your relationship, and during this season, it's going to take vulnerability to say, I need help.
And like you said, we got to show them. We got to paint it on their canvas, like what's really going on. Because
Absolutely.
if we don't say nothing, how would they know? And then, like you said, if they don't have a response, they don't know what to say.
Right. And so I wouldn't walk away and say, hey, they don't care. Call them back and say, hey, Marlon, I asked you last night because I really need help. And oh wow, I didn't know it. I didn't know it was that serious. I didn't know it because a lot of times I normally watch the news, and afterwards, someone has committed suicide. The family is like, I didn't know, I didn't know, I didn't know, and so we have to make sure we say something.
And when it comes to that topic, that touched me deeply. When I see it on Facebook of somebody jumped off the bridge, like the guy that jumped from in the library, Benjamin Hook Library, like that touched me deeply because I'm like, when you suicide, it's like you at a point where you see no way out, and that's a lot of heaviness, a lot of darkness, and a lot of loneliness as well.
Right.
And when I was suicidal, I was seeing black and white.
Okay.
Like I wasn't seeing color.
Okay.
Like I was so dark. I was so dark to a point where I couldn't see. It's real.
Mm-hmm.
It's real. So if anybody out there feeling suicidal, don't feel alone. Feel that. Just talk to somebody. Seek professional help because man, it's real.
It's real.
And that's not talked about enough as well. Like the black community, we got to talk about so much. We got to deal with a lot. We still dealing with 400 years of trauma from like it's
Absolutely.
just a lot passed down. A lot passed down.
And
like
one of the things that taught us is so we have to be strong now in lieu of everything that has happened to us. Now we show no weakness and we show no vulnerability. So we don't want to go back there. So what we have to do is put on a facade that we're strong. and now that's killing us. So we got to
Yeah.
find a middle ground. You know what I mean? So that's what we have to do, and that is what we call balance. So I'm weak, but I'm strong, and we got to find that middle place to be.
Yeah, and it hurt more pretending to be strong than when you're not.
Mm-hmm.
It hurt a lot.
It's
It's
extra
like
work.
there's a pain in your heart, especially showing up, pretending you're okay when you're not. Like I've been there, and go home like
Mm-hmm.
back with them fears and emotions. So
Right.
that's why if I'm not okay, I'm gonna make it on. Look, I'm
Right.
not okay. I'm not feeling up for this. Like you just gotta be straightforward.
So
You gotta be real with yourself before
I-
you can be real with anybody else.
I do a teaching, and I go around to churches, and I titled it "Removing the Mask," because we got to wear a mask, and that what you described, that you having to be strong in front of people, then go home and say, "Ah, one more thing." So we used to wearing our mask at work. We used to wearing our mask with our families. So used to smiling when it's not funny, and so we have to give people permission to take the mask off.
You ever tell you another thing? Laughing when you know depressed or anything like that. That it make you lightheaded.
It does.
It make you lightheaded. For me, like in a situation, and I'm laughing, and it's not even like it was funny, but I'm trying to explain this right because I've been there a few times. Like I'm laughing, I get lightheaded because I'm so full of pain and trying to pretend that everything
Right.
is okay to really fit in this moment. But it takes a lot of work pretending.
Yeah, it takes a lot. So everybody laughing, I tell you, is not happy. So you have to look in the person's eyes, not they smile, because a lot of people are smiling and not happy.
Yeah.
So the eyes is the key to the soul. So you look at the eyes and you'll see. Tell me behind that smile what's really going on.
Look, that's how I know what's something going on with a person. Like especially like my close people. I don't care if we at the bar or anything. I look people dead in their eyes and I'm like, he dealing with something. She dealing with something that they not talking about or dealing with or don't
Right.
know how to deal with. So I try to be there for them. Look, I'm here if you need me. You're not alone. You don't have to go through this alone. Like I'm here with them. Like call me anytime. Like I'm here because that's when the thoughts really hit late
Right.
at night.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to be there for everybody, create a safe space. Tell my story. The parts that nobody talk about.
Right.
Like we talk about grief, depression, suicidal thoughts, but don't nobody talk about that darkness. Like alone, can't sleep, like being up a week straight.
Wow.
And then, like I was up a week straight when I was going through what I was going through because I was smoking and drinking.
Okay.
Smoking and drinking. I wake up, like, take a nap. I'm smoking, drinking. It's like I was really trying to escape from that heartache, that loneliness, that darkness. Just escaping. But it was a period of time I was up a week straight.
Wow.
Surviving off weed and alcohol and going to the cemetery. Because
Really?
I felt, and that was really taking a toll on me too,
Okay.
going to the cemetery in the midst of all of that. Because one day I came from the cemetery, sat at the table with my mom and my little sister, and I had an anxiety attack.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as I got up, my heart started beating fast. My body started to tighten up.
Okay.
I had to lay my head on the table, and sweat was dripping off my head to the table.
Okay.
So I had to really get up and fight out that moment. Made a cold smoothie, and that calmed me all the way
Okay.
down.
Okay.
So then I had a second one. My head started to get tight. Like I was knowing my head got tight. I had a do-rag on. Took the do-rag off. My head still was tight. Then my vision started to get dark.
Okay.
And I asked my brother, I'm like, pass me some water. He was like, you good? Because I don't even drink the water that they drink. And I, usually get up and get my own stuff. I was just honest. I'm like, nah, I ain't feeling good. My head tight. So my mama, she was finna rush me to the fire station. And all I remember standing in front of the stove and just everything went black.
Oh.
Woke up in the car. I'm like, I'm good. Like I woke up, I'm good. Like what's going on? Like grief, it's scary.
It's real.
It's very scary.
Wow. So as you can see, it's come out in different places, in different ways.
When you don't deal.
When you don't deal with it.
When you
So
don't
we
deal.
admonishing your viewers and your listeners to make sure if you see something, say something, do something.
Yeah, and if you know someone that's grieving or having a hard time grieving, be there for them, create a safe space, show them that you're there and love them. Because when it comes to grief, nobody, we don't feel comfortable to talk about it in the black community, but it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to feel however you're feeling, you're human. And God gave us tears to cry. He gave us emotion and feels, to feel and show them.
It's part of your human experience. And just like you need your kidneys, your esophagus, you need your heart for your physical body. Our mental, emotional body needs sadness, need loneliness, need anger, because that what operates our emotions. So just imagine if you didn't have your kidney, if you didn't have your heart, how would your physical body make? So how are we living when we don't feel? And a lot of people say, I don't feel. Well, then you're emotionally dead. And that's what's happening, because you can't live without your heart. You can't live without your esophagus. You can't live without it. So that's why you need sadness. You need loneliness. And you need to be able to talk about it comfortably, because that is a part of your humanistic experience. So when you have people that say, I don't feel, don't nothing bother me, then okay, you're human. You have to show those emotions. You have to feel, because again, we're not robots. We are humans with real emotions. And when you don't allow your emotions to be expressed, then you're not living.
Yeah, and that's a scary place to be. Scary place to be.
Right.
Emotionally dead.
Right.
That's a scary place to be. And that's why I fight so hard to not go back down that route, because I'm like, I can't do that no more.
I know,
like,
it's
no
a scary
way.
place.
I'm like, no way. Like I look back at pictures and videos that I took during that journey. That's what keeps me going. I'm like, I know what I went through and where I was at. I'm like, I can't go back there. It was scary.
So one of the things is to communicate your emotions, communicate your feelings. I know it may look weak, but it's actually you're living. Because have you ever like got a good yell, or a good crowd, then you're like, okay, I'm good. Because that's all your body needs. You're like, oh, I'm good now. I'm good.
I do it still to this day. Like, when I feel my emotion, I'm not finna. I don't smoke no more. It's been a year and 3 months now. I don't smoke. I have me a drink or two, but when it's dealing with mental health wise,
Right.
I don't drink. I'm finna sit with those feelings. I don't care how bad it hurt. I'm about to sit with it. I'm about to cry. I'm about to let it out. I'm gonna take time for myself. Like, it's been like last week. I had a moment. I'm like, feels and emotion. Like, it's another holiday without grandma. So I felt what needed to be felt and released those tears. I'm like, I got this.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, those last few words you said, I got this. So a lot of people are afraid of maybe the emotion will occur like a hurricane, and they won't be able to get their lives together. But that's not how emotions work. You just said you felt it last week, and then once you finished, you said, okay, I got this. And that's how it works. You give yourself that moment, let the human body feel the sadness, the hurt, the guilt, the loneliness, and then you say, you know what? But I got this. Yeah. And then you move forward. And that's how you moving through the grief process. Allowing the feeling to come. Don't take it away, but allow it to come. And then you say, I got this. And you go on with your life. Go ahead and wash dishes. Go ahead and cook dinner. And go ahead and to work.
And you don't feel stuck in that moment.
Right.
I've noticed now that I cry, but when I'm feeling what needs to be felt, I don't feel stuck.
Okay.
Versus when I wasn't crying or wasn't smoking and drinking, I felt stuck. And what I've learned, grief, if you don't deal with it, grief, depression, or talk to nobody or let it out, you're going to forever be stuck at square one.
Absolutely. And that's what happens. You get stuck. And that's the actual term that we use in therapy is people feel like, I just feel like I'm not going anywhere. I just feel stuck. That means maybe you're blocking the progress. And maybe you need to let some emotions go. So you can move forward and heal.
Right. Another thing I've done, I've cut off a lot of people who wasn't healthy, healthy for me during this journey.
Okay.
Had to cut a lot of people off, and once I got certain people from around, my journey got better.
Okay.
Yeah. It didn't leave too many people to always call on me.
Right.
And that's another thing, too. That's another thing. People calling. You being the only person that people call them, that's another conversation. That's another conversation. I thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you so much for coming to help us heal. I've also learned some new things. I've learned about myself that it's more healing that I need in my life, and certain areas I need to heal, and I thank you for that.
Well, thank you for having me. As always, we've been trying to get this together, so I'm glad we finally made it happen. I'm glad that you have me. It's an honor and a pleasure to talk to your viewers, and hopefully something was said that can lead them to healing.
Yes, and save somebody's life. Let them know it's hope. It's so much hope.
Right.
And whatever you're going through, whatever your journey is, it's so much hope. It's just the beginning. But it's on you. It's on you. It may be hard, but it's strength and vulnerability. And it's strength in recognizing when you need help. And there's nothing wrong with getting help. Nothing wrong. Is it anything you want to say to them?
No, but like you mentioned, if you see something, say something. If you see it in yourself, if you see it in a loved one, a coworker, a friend, don't be afraid to say something. It could be a life you saved. And I just want to say happy holidays.
Happy holidays and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.